Very much, Beverly. We've been talking about it for the last at least couple of weeks. We all know what's been happening on Commercial Drive, the Kine store that was open, selling marijuana over the counter. Police, after I assume the public got aware of it, went in and shut the place down, albeit very briefly. We're now joined to continue the debate over the legalization of marijuana. We're joined by Chris Bennett, manager of PotTV.com. Chris, thanks very much.
Hey, thank you.
And Morton Rand Hendrickson, who's a concerned citizen, which is, we like to have just regular folks, everyday people like us on the show, and this is perfect. So let's just start with you. Legalize it. Obviously, that would be your...
Yeah, totally.
Why?
Well, we're already spending like millions of dollars putting people in jail. The biggest subsidiary industry to the number one industry, which is marijuana, is probably the police's war on cannabis. So all that tax dollars being spent on something that, for I would say, the majority of British Columbians and Vancouverites want. There are three polls, I believe, regarding Kine, one in the Province, one in the Sun, one in the Courier, and the majority of Vancouverites said, yeah, we like this place, keep it open. And it would likely still be open if it hadn't drawn the media attention, and it drew that media attention because it was outraged over the 3-month sentence given to Mark Emery for passing a joint in Saskatchewan.
Okay, and your thoughts? Obviously, you don't feel the same way. What's your concern?
Well, I think that people have to realize there's a reason why pot is illegal. It's not some conspiracy that the medical community and the police have against pot. It's because it's actually a dangerous narcotic substance. And I think we also need to split, there's two separate elements here. There's the medical marijuana, and then there's legalization all out. Because I don't have a problem with people who actually need marijuana as a medication to help them in their lives. The problem is when they want to sell this to everyone, regardless of their affliction.
Does it work kind of strange, though, in the sense of, like you say, it's not healthy, that's why it's, it's not a good thing to have, but yet it is prescribed for certain things. It just seems a little strange in that sense.
Well, it's like amphetamines are prescribed to people to heal certain afflictions, or at least to help them. But I don't see people marching the streets to demand speed being legalized all over the place. And I mean, there's a reason for it. You use marijuana to heal certain types of illnesses, right? But those illnesses are not illnesses that everyone shares.
Well, first of all, marijuana wasn't outlawed based on any scientific evidence whatsoever. It was brought in by the white supremacist Emily Murphy with warnings about how the dark-browed races were going to seduce the bright-browed races with these substances. So there's no medical inquiry into the effects of marijuana as a drug. So we're stuck with these arcane laws. And in fact, if marijuana hadn't been outlawed then, it would likely still be legal based on scientific evidence.
I imagine, though, medically, again, we don't hear from a lot of, the medical profession doesn't seem to be jumping up and down at this point, which is kind of surprising, saying, hey, you shouldn't be, decriminalizing this. Health issues, are you not concerned at all about
well,
it?
Smoking
can't be good for you regardless.
Well, what about, people talk about smoking, and this was something we discussed earlier, you know what I mean? And, smoking anything, maybe that's not good for you. Maybe that's not a good way to do it. But there's other ways of ingesting cannabis. If there is any ill effects, it would probably be due to the carbon produced by smoking. There's vaporizing, which is a smokeless method of using cannabis. This is the way I usually ingest cannabis. As well, you can eat cannabis cookies, which they were selling at the Kine, and you can make cannabis beverages, with, such as bong. But there's never been a documented death from lung cancer from cannabis whatsoever. I've been smoking cannabis for 30 years. I know individuals who've been smoking cannabis longer than me. I know thousands of cannabis smokers. I've never, ever met a single one who got lung cancer from smoking marijuana.
You're smiling right there.
There are a lot of other side effects of smoking.
Oh.
No, I'm not saying they get lung cancer.
So
if they smoke pot in joints, they will get lung cancer. It's 5 times stronger than smoking a cigarette.
Who? No. Who?
Is it odds are
that back that up with a statement of who? A single movie star, rock star, jazz star?
There's a lot of studies done on the subject. If you take a joint, it's 5 times stronger than a cigarette.
That's like comparing the broadleaf of the tobacco plant to the broadleaf of the marijuana plant. As THC levels are increased, less marijuana smoked.
That's not the real problem. The real problem is there's a lot of other side effects that people don't think about. If you smoke pot, if you smoke marijuana, you get the chances of getting schizophrenia is 7 times higher.
I've never known anybody to get schizophrenia from smoking marijuana.
Studies that have been conducted in Sweden very recently show
Sweden is the most prohibitive country in all of the world.
It's still a reasonable
study. No, it's not a reasonable study. No, it's not.
At the same time, if you smoke marijuana while you're pregnant, your child is more likely to get ADHD. if you smoke marijuana while you're pregnant?
Well, yeah, but
where's all that coming from? Like, these are just like statements out of the air.
That would be though the same as alcohol or a cigarette or anything when you're pregnant. So I don't think you can use.
But using other lethal substances as an argument to legalize marijuana, it's a very dangerous road to walk on. Because I mean, if you say you have alcohol, it's dangerous. So we should legalize marijuana because it's not as dangerous. What about heroin? I mean, there's no real difference here. You should legalize everything then. Just not have a ban on anything.
What do you think? Do you think everything?
I think that everything should be legalized, and it should be medical issues, not issues of the law. You know, unless we want to model ourselves after the United States, where they have 2 million people in prison, that's 1 in every 150 people in the United States is in jail. Comparatively, here in Canada, we have about 1 in 700. With 5% of the world's population, the U.S. has 25% of the world's 25% of the world's prisoners, and they're the leaders. The one-time land of the free is the piss test state, and the incarcerating more of their public than any other country in the world, based solely on the drug war. Unless we want to follow that model, instead of the model of compassion, which we're seeing here in Vancouver with the safe injection site and the safe inhalation site, and we should follow that model with a safe place to buy cannabis and safe places to use cannabis.
But this is not a real issue. I mean, your safe injection sites are supposed to be there to help people who are already addicted. You say you can't be addicted to marijuana, so why would you need them? Why don't you just stop instead? Why don't you say it's illegal?
Because I enjoy it. It's my religious sacrament.
When you drive your car under the influence of marijuana, I don't want to be on the road.
Well, I agree. They should have intoxication tests. They have simple yellow line walking impairment tests. All those type of things exist. We pull people over, we road test them. If they test for impairment, we take away their licenses.
I wonder if the police, as we do have breathalyzers, and again, I'm not a scientist, I don't know. I'm wondering if there would be some sort of test to take a check.
It's hard to tell because THC stays in your body for so long. But we could have impairment tests, such as the classic, and walking the lines and stuff like that. And that's the way it should be. It should be based on a person's ability to drive, not how much of something's in their body.
Yeah, but when you legalize it like the way you want to do it right now, people are going to smoke it all the time. That's what you want.
People smoke it all the time. In fact, when they legalize it in the Netherlands, when they decriminalize
you have so many people under the influence being dangerous drivers, having impaired judgment of anything. I mean, do you want your 16-year-old daughter to go to a party, smoke pot, and God knows what will happen? I mean, I'd rather smoke.
Okay, let me just say this. Let me just say this. Do you not think that that's probably happening now?
With alcohol?
I think it's probably happening with them going to a party at 16 and having an opportunity to smoke a joint now.
Making this legal won't make it any less certain. It will make it more certain. I mean, if you make it legal, you say, well, my parents say it's okay. My parents say it's okay, so why shouldn't I do that?
That's untrue. I have to respond to that. In the Netherlands, when they decriminalized marijuana, there was a slight spike in youth, but that has dropped down. There's way more drug problem in the United States of America, where there's massive attempts to prohibit it. It's the classic forbidden fruit syndrome. You tell people they can't use it, and by placing a marijuana with more harmful substances, by making it illegal, people go down and they get exposed to the crack cocaine, the methamphetamine, the heroin. Let's move it out of that. You know what I mean? If there's any association between cannabis and other drugs, it's because of the illegality of cannabis and the government's placing it with these other substances in the same category. The kids try the pot, they don't find the problems that they have, and I'd rather my kids smoke pot at a party than drink alcohol, or smoke cigarettes.
Gentlemen, we could probably talk about it all day long, and I think people are going to continue to debate this. I really appreciate you guys coming in. Chris Bennett, manager of PotTV.com, Morton Rand Hendrickson, just a concerned citizen. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. No sign in ending this debate. We'll be back on Breakfast Television. Lots more still to come. 7:28. You're watching Breakfast Television.